Greetings to all lovers of unusual stories and medical mysteries. Today, we will dive into the amazing world of folk medicine and examine 7 of the strangest healing rituals that were practiced, and some still are, in different corners of our planet. Imagine this. Instead of taking a pill or getting an injection, people jumped over fires, buried themselves in sand, or allowed fish to swim through their clothes. Sounds incredible, doesn't it? But these practices are not just amusing superstitions. Behind them stand centuries-old traditions, complex cultural contexts, and possibly even some rational foundations, which we will try to understand today. If you're interested in the mysteries of folk medicine, unusual healing practices, and amazing ways in which people in different cultures fought diseases, be sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. Every week, we tell you about little-known facts of medical history, strange medicines of the past and present, as well as how our understanding of health and disease has evolved over the centuries. And now, get ready to be amazed as we begin our journey into the world of the most unusual healing rituals. So, the first amazing ritual, trepanation of the skull among the ancient Incas. It is difficult to imagine a more radical treatment method than drilling a hole in the skull of a living person without anesthesia and antibiotics. However, archaeological findings indicate that in ancient Peru, this practice was surprisingly common. The Incas and their predecessors performed trepanation to treat head injuries, headaches, epilepsy, and even mental disorders. The most amazing thing is that many patients survived this complex procedure. Studies of skulls found during excavations show traces of bone tissue healing, which proves that people continued to live after the operation, sometimes even for many years. Special instruments made of obsidian or copper were used for trepanation, and local plants containing natural anesthetics, such as coca leaves, were used as painkillers. Interestingly, the effectiveness of this procedure can be explained from the perspective of modern medicine. For intracranial hematomas caused by trauma, trepanation could indeed save lives by reducing dangerous pressure on the brain. What we perceive today as a barbaric ritual was actually a complex surgical operation requiring considerable knowledge of anatomy and practical skills. Moving on to the second ritual, treating malaria using the fish method in the Indian state of Hyderabad. This amazing ritual is conducted annually in June and attracts thousands of people suffering from asthma and other respiratory diseases. Here's how it happens. The patient swallows a live finger-sized fish that has been previously dipped in a secret herbal paste. The fish must be swallowed whole while it is still alive. According to local beliefs, the fish swims through the throat and respiratory organs, cleansing them of mucus and expanding the airways. The secret paste made from 37 herbs, the recipe for which has been passed down from generation to generation in one family, is considered an effective remedy for asthma and other respiratory diseases. The Bathini family, which keeps this recipe, claims to have received it from a holy man more than 150 years ago. It is difficult to say whether this method has real medical effectiveness, but more than 30,000 patients use it annually. Some researchers suggest that the herbal mixture may contain components with anti-inflammatory properties. Others believe that the effect is mainly psychological or related to the placebo effect. Either way, this practice continues to exist despite criticism from modern medicine. The third amazing healing method, Japanese forest bathing or Shinrin-yoku. Unlike the first 2 examples, this method is not only ancient, but is also actively studied by modern science. Shinrin-yoku is the practice of immersing oneself in the forest atmosphere. When a person spends time among trees, consciously perceiving the surrounding nature with all 5 senses. The tradition originates from ancient Shinto and Buddhist practices, but was officially formulated in Japan in 1982. The method involves slow walks through the forest, deep breathing, contemplation of nature, and full presence in the moment. Japanese doctors prescribe such forest baths to reduce stress, improve immunity, and general health. Amazingly, modern research confirms the effectiveness of this method. Scientists have found that during time spent in the forest, the level of the stress hormone cortisol decreases, the activity of the parasympathetic nervous system increases, and the number of natural killer cells important for fighting cancer increases. This is associated with inhaling phytoncides, volatile organic compounds released by trees to protect against bacteria and insects. Today, forest baths are practiced not only in Japan but around the world as a method of preventing stress-related diseases and general health improvement. This is an amazing example of how an ancient intuitive practice finds confirmation in modern science. The fourth unusual ritual, pulsating larvae or treating wounds with fly larvae in medieval Europe and modern medicine. Sounds disgusting, doesn't it? However, this practice has an ancient history and amazing effectiveness. It was first documented during the Napoleonic Wars when surgeon Baron Dominique Larrey noticed that soldiers' wounds infested with fly larvae healed faster and with less inflammation. In traditional folk medicine of many European countries, larvae of certain fly species were placed in non-healing wounds. The larvae feed only on dead tissue, leaving healthy tissue untouched, and secrete enzymes that destroy bacteria and stimulate healing. After the emergence of antibiotics, this practice was forgotten, but in recent decades, it has experienced a revival due to the problem of antibiotic resistance. Today, wound treatment with larvae or biosurgery is approved by the FDA and used in modern hospitals to treat diabetic ulcers, bed sores, and other non-healing wounds. The larvae are grown in sterile conditions and applied under medical supervision. This method is an amazing example of how an ancient, seemingly primitive practice can be integrated into modern evidence-based medicine. The fifth strange ritual, the healing chair or treating mental disorders by rotation in ancient Egypt and Victorian England. Imagine a chair or stool suspended in such a way that it can be quickly rotated around a vertical axis. The patient was tied to such a device and spun until dizzy and nauseated. This practice existed in ancient Egypt, where it was used to treat melancholy and other mental disorders. In the 18th and 19th centuries, it was revived and widely used in European psychiatric institutions. The famous psychiatrist Benjamin Rush, one of the founding fathers of the United States, was a great supporter of this method and even improved the rotating chair for use in his practice. The theory behind this treatment suggested that rapid rotation changes blood circulation in the brain and redirects body fluids, causing a therapeutic effect. Patients often experienced nausea, dizziness, and even lost consciousness, which was considered a sign of effective treatment. From a modern perspective, perhaps some temporary effect for certain conditions was achieved through stimulation of the vestibular apparatus and changes in brain activity. However, the potential harm from such treatment, including the risk of cervical vertebrae damage and psychological trauma, significantly outweighed any possible benefits. By the beginning of the 20th century, this practice was abandoned. The sixth unusual method, the royal touch or treating scrofula by the monarch's touch in medieval Europe. This is one of the most amazing examples of the intersection of medicine, politics, and religion. From the early Middle Ages until the 18th century in England and France, there was a belief that monarchs possessed a divine ability to heal scrofula, a form of tuberculosis affecting the lymph nodes, by the simple touch of their hand. The ritual was solemn. The sick lined up, the monarch touched their wounds or swellings, and recited a prayer. Then the patients were given a special coin, a touch penny, which they had to wear around their neck as an amulet. French kings performed this ritual especially often, sometimes healing thousands of patients in a single day. The effectiveness of the royal touch from a medical point of view can be explained by several factors. First, scrofula often resolves spontaneously, especially with improved nutrition and living conditions. Second, the powerful placebo effect, enhanced by religious faith and the authority of the monarch, could contribute to psychological and even physical improvement. Third, silver touch pennies could have an antiseptic effect when in contact with wounds due to the antibacterial properties of silver. Politically, this ritual was extremely important for strengthening the divine status of the monarchy. Even after the Reformation in Protestant England, the tradition continued, although the religious wording of the ritual changed. The last British monarch to practice the royal touch was Queen Anne, and in France, this tradition ended with the French Revolution. And finally, the seventh strange ritual, trance dances or treating tarantula bites in medieval Italy. Between the 14th and 17th centuries in southern Italy, especially in the Apulia region, a phenomenon known as tarantism emerged. It was believed that a tarantula bite caused a severe condition, tarantism, which required a special ritual dance, the tarantella, for treatment. Symptoms of tarantism included melancholy, dizziness, nausea, difficulty breathing, and, most interestingly, an irresistible desire to dance. The treatment involved multi-day dance rituals accompanied by special music. Musicians selected a melody that resonated with the specific patient, inducing a healing trance. Patients danced until complete exhaustion, after which healing supposedly occurred. From the perspective of modern science, bites from most species of tarantulas living in Italy do not pose a serious danger to humans. Probably, tarantism was a culturally conditioned psychological phenomenon, combining elements of mass hysteria, a socially acceptable way of expressing suppressed emotions, especially for women, and possibly symptoms of other diseases erroneously attributed to spider bites. Interestingly, the ritual dance tarantella survived the phenomenon of tarantism itself and became a popular folk dance and then a genre of classical music. In a sense, it was an effective method of psychotherapy, allowing people to express and process emotional problems through ritual dance in a socially acceptable form. Now that we have examined these 7 strange rituals, let's think, what do they have in common? Why have people throughout history turned to such unusual methods of treatment? The first thing to notice is the close connection between medicine and spiritual beliefs. Many of these practices include elements of religious or magical rituals, reflecting an understanding of disease not only as a physical ailment, but also as a spiritual or social imbalance. Second is the amazing intuitive wisdom behind some of these practices. Trepanation, wound treatment with larvae, forest baths, all these methods, which seemed strange or primitive, contain a rational kernel confirmed by modern science. Third is the importance of ritual and symbolic actions in the healing process. Rituals create structure, give hope, mobilize the body's internal resources, and activate the powerful placebo effect, which, as modern research shows, can cause real physiological changes in the body. Fourth is the close connection between physical health and social structures. The royal touch, trance dances, these practices performed not only a medical but also an important social function, strengthening social bonds and hierarchies. Of course, many of the practices we have examined contain elements of superstition, and some could have been downright harmful. Modern medicine, based on scientific evidence, certainly offers more effective and safer methods of treating most diseases. However, it would be a mistake to completely reject the wisdom of traditional practices. Interestingly, today we are observing a kind of return to some of these ancient approaches, but at a new, scientifically based level. Biosurgery using larvae, forest bath therapy, even certain aspects of psychedelic therapy reminiscent of ancient trance practices. All these methods are undergoing scientific verification and finding their place in modern medicine. It is important to remember that the history of medicine is not a simple linear path from ignorance to enlightenment. It is a complex process in which knowledge is accumulated, lost, and rediscovered, and sometimes ancient practices contain a seed of wisdom that we are only now beginning to understand with the help of modern science. What can we take from these strange rituals for modern life? Perhaps an understanding that healing is not just a mechanical process of eliminating symptoms, but a complex psychological, social, and spiritual experience. That connection with nature, as in the case of forest baths, has a profound healing effect. That rituals and symbolic actions can be powerful tools of psychological support, and that human ingenuity in the search for healing is truly limitless. In addition, these practices remind us of the importance of cultural context in medicine. What seems strange or irrational in one culture may have deep meaning in another. Understanding this is especially important in our globalized world, where different medical traditions meet. Of course, this does not mean that we should abandon the achievements of modern medicine or uncritically accept any alternative practices. The scientific approach, based on evidence, remains our best tool for evaluating the effectiveness and safety of any treatment methods, whether ancient or modern. However, studying strange healing rituals from the past can enrich our understanding of health and disease, expand our ideas about possible approaches to treatment, and perhaps even inspire new scientific research that will open unexpected perspectives in the medicine of the future. In the end, the history of strange healing rituals is part of the broader history of human striving for health and well-being, a history of ingenuity, hope, and persistence in the face of disease and suffering. And in this sense, it is not only amazing and sometimes amusing, but also deeply human and touching. Thank you for embarking with me on this amazing journey through strange healing rituals from around the world. If you liked this video, don't forget to like it, share it with friends, and of course subscribe to our channel to receive new fascinating stories about medical mysteries of the past and present. And in the comments, tell us which of these 7 rituals seemed the most amazing to you. Perhaps you know other unusual treatment methods from the traditions of your country or region? Share your thoughts and stories. In upcoming episodes, we will continue to explore the amazing world of medical history, strange medicines, forgotten treatment methods, and their unexpected connections with modern science. Don't miss it. Until next time.